All right, so now we're at the point where we have to wire up Robie's head. Now here's the original face. The original face has 2 light bulbs and an LED. So LEDs weren't ubiquitous at this point in the 1980s. They were found in some higher technology like boom boxes, handheld radios and things like that. But the light bulb was still dominant, and I think the idea here was that Robie's eyes should be flashlights. So this was a kid's toy, and I guess the idea was you could turn Robie's eyes on and have 2 relatively strong flashlights, and he could sort of go around the house in the dark and see things, and I guess that was kind of cool. And in order to do that, they used a really big battery and 2 light bulbs, flashlight bulbs. Well, these are obsolete, and they draw a lot of power, and they're just unnecessary. And I'd like to put some blue LEDs in here, and then I want to do a white LED for the mouth, which I don't actually have at the moment. I have to go digging for one, but that's an option. I'm not going to do the mouth today. I'm going to be working first on the eyes. So I have here one of the plates where the eyes have already been removed, and you can see when I do put the white LED in the mouth, that'll be really simple because it'll just replace a red LED. All right, so we're ready to go. And what I'm going to do here is the first thing I had to do was reduce the diameter of the eye holes, because these were set up for the large old flashlight bulbs, and I have to put these little blue LEDs in there. So what I needed to do first was come up with something that would allow me to reduce that diameter. And what I came up with in the junk drawer was these little end caps to a eyeglass repair kit. This particular brand uses this little tube with these 2 little caps on the ends, and those caps just perfectly fit inside that little slot there. Now the problem I'm going to have, because this is very reflective, this is a flashlight interior, if I put red in there, I'm going to be able to see a lot of red in the eyes, even through the opaque lens. So what I need to do is coat these with maybe some aluminum foil or reflective tape before I actually install them. But step 1 is going to be drilling a hole in the middle of each of these caps to accommodate the blue LED. Then before I put the blue LED in, I will coat this with some aluminum foil or something like that, then install them, and then I'll have just more of that sort of chrome, and that'll allow for good reflectivity, and I won't be able to see the red. You can see how that reflects in there. We just don't want that, so I want to avoid that. And maybe get some blue color in there rather than that red color. Okay, so I have drilled out the 2 little end caps here, and you can see I put one of the LEDs right through, so that's going to work just fine. But before I attach those permanently, I'm just going to take a little piece of aluminum foil and glue the cap down on top of that so that the shiny side is up. And then when that's dry, I'll just cut it out, overlap it a little bit around the flange, and then I can reinsert the LED, solder everything together, stick them into the eye sockets, and attach them up to the Raspberry. So let's take a look at how that came. So here's the top plate again, looking nice and shiny and new. Turn his head around, and you can see I've got him wired here. I've got him wired and ready to go. What I did was I just put a little tiny, see if I can get this out here for you to see a little better. It's got a little tiny breadboard in there with a resistor to step down the voltage for the LEDs, because he's going to get power through 2 wires that come through that neck hole, and I can set that up in just a moment. And you can see that I have each LED, blue LED, going into the eyes, individually wired from the breadboard so that they both receive the voltage we send to them. And all of that is controlled by the voice kit, which is what sends power to the eyes and the mouth. So what I'm going to do is put this together enough that you can see how it works, and we're going to power them up and ask Robie some questions. All right, so here's the first test of Robie's smarts. You can see his eyes and mouth blinked because the Google AIY kit is in charge of what he's doing right now, and that's just to tell us that he's alert and listening. Now, eventually his wake-up command will be Robie Sr., and then he'll respond to us. But right now it's the typical Google type wake-up call, so I'm not going to say that because it's going to wake him up and I'm not ready to. But if you look up here, he is connected to the screen up here. And what's on there is the Google AIY developer screen. That is connected just right to, you can see coming out of Robie is an HDMI cord right here. And that HDMI cord is feeding up to that monitor so I can control the Google AIY kit. But of course, if I disconnect that, he works just fine. It's just that I won't be able to turn him on and off when I'm done. So let's give him a try here. Again, using the Google command, I say, okay, Google, what time is it?
It's 8:53.
Okay, Google, goodbye.
As they say in Hindi, Alvida.
So that's how Robie's voice command function will work. All right, so here's the back of Robie with the battery tray off. You can see that this is the original charging input, and that still works. It goes down here, which is where the battery goes in. And that is, this little couple of batteries here are controlling everything. They're powering everything. These are the 1450, I believe they're called. Big batteries, big lithium batteries. And they power everything. That little thing, this whole thing used to be a 6-volt motorcycle battery, but we don't need that anymore. A lot happened in 35 years. I actually do have the fuse hooked up in series, so if too much power were to go through, his fuse works. I'm not sure how necessary that is, but it was already in place, so I reused it. I try to reuse everything. Up in his head, I'll have to do a little freehand here. You can see that I brought these power cables up from the base. This red and this black are just going right into what I showed before, and they're just coming up out of the base. So everything's wired and ready to go. It's just a matter of putting them back together and making everything cooperate with each other. So.